There are growing hotspots in the country, and officials are looking for new ways to contain the rising number of infections. Ontario wants to see enforcement ramped up. BC is closing down some businesses. Quebec doing both, and not all of those measures are receiving overwhelming support. John Northcott leads us off on that this hour. John, what are we seeing, particularly in Ontario? Seems like what had been a very unified front, there might be some cracks appearing there.
Yeah, perhaps a little early to say so much for we're all in this together, but we are, as you say, potentially seeing some cracks in the united front when it comes to the best way to keep the numbers down and to protect the lives of Canadians. This particular eruption, if you will, is over the enforcement of quarantine, those who've come from outside the country and then are forced to directly go into 14 days of quarantine. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford saying that officials, meaning in his words, federal officials, aren't doing enough to enforce the laws and to fine and to sanction people for not quarantining. Here's Doug Ford.
622 they felt broke the rules and 17 got charged. Guys, the system's broken. We can't have our police running around and seeing people breaking quarantine and nothing happens to them, a slap on the wrist. It turns into be a joke.
So, system broken. Strong words there from Ontario's Premier. The Health Minister, Patty Hajdu, has been pushing back against this and did so most recently just a short while ago on CBC Radio's The Current. Let's have a listen to her.
I think the Premier's comments are a reflection of the fact that, he may be unaware that OPP can fully enforce the Act. And in fact, I would say that it's also really important that we remember that the risk of the spread of cases due to importation is incredibly low. We've had very few cases that are related to importation from other countries.
So, just to try to sort through all the finger pointing there, it does appear that federal officials can impose fines of up to $750,000 for those who are not going and quarantining. But any police force can issue fines of up to $1,000 for not again going into a quarantine situation or saying you're in quarantine and then being seen out in the street elsewhere, spotted by neighbors, or not even in that address at all. So we will watch that space as the debate continues there. Let's move across the country to British Columbia and talk about what we've seen there. Concerns about the rising numbers, 139 new cases yesterday. That is a record for that province. And they've moved in to limit the sale of alcohol, limit the opening hours of bars, and looking at banquet facilities. That has the Banquet Facilities Association angry. They say they're being discriminated against, particularly those in the South Asian community. Let's listen to them.
The 429 cases that happened over the weekend, not one case happened from a banquet hall. How are we being targeted by this effect? I don't get it. We are standalone facilities that have been targeted by this government.
We've got safe environments, we've got sanitization. We're doing everything that Dr. Bonnie Henry requested in the provincial order, and it's just not fair what's happening to our community.
So the pushback there from Bonnie Henry is saying that the concern with banquet halls are that people are in close proximity, people are talking, people are dancing, and it's intergenerational. So there you're getting elderly, proud grandparents there with younger people, and that mixing that we are trying to avoid in so many other areas of our life presents potential dangers there. Heather?
John, how about Quebec? Yesterday at this time, we were listening in to the Premier as he was laying out how the province is going to crack down against the small minority who break the rules about wearing masks. What's been the response to Quebec's tougher stance?
Yeah, as we heard Premier Legault say, the small minority endangering the majority, those including the elderly and, in fact, the entire healthcare system. Saying that it is going to be individuals who will now be focused on. The rules were always on the books, at least since July. Restaurant owners, store owners, the obligation on them, now more so within those yellow zones, the 4 of them in the province where they're concerned about the numbers there, police being given the green light, if you will, on the yellow zones to start fining people for not wearing masks in public areas. And for those in institutions and businesses who had felt the onus on them, this new focus on the individual is a relief. Have a listen.
Having a higher authority stepping in and taking over, I think it alleviates, a lot of like hostile interaction between, client and employees.
I think it's good. I think that makes most sense. Like, it's the responsibility of the customer to keep everyone else safe. It's not really the responsibility of the store owners.
I think it's going to help people like, oh my God, I really don't want to be fined, so I'm going to wear my mask.
So it has been 6 months. We've seen the numbers go down. We are seeing the numbers begin to climb up. And we are seeing a back and forth in various sectors of this country around how best to keep those numbers from going even further. Heather?
John, thank you very much with that part of the story this morning.